Your garden looks incredible in May. By July, it's embarrassing, and by September, you're not even walking back there anymore. That is not a gardening problem. That is a plant selection problem. And the garden industry has been selling you annuals, selling you replacements, selling you the same 6 flowers every single spring because repeat customers are good for business. But a garden that blooms from May straight through to October, that's bad for their business and very good for yours. These 11 perennials bloom so long, so hard, and so reliably that you plant them once and they pay you back for decades. Subscribe hook. Before we get into this list, if you take your garden seriously, if you want real information and not just pretty pictures, hit that subscribe button right now. Everything on this channel is built for gardeners who actually want results. Not followers, not trends, results. Hit subscribe and let's get into it. Plant A1, Coneflower, Echinacea purpurea. Here is the first thing most gardeners get completely wrong about coneflower. They deadhead it in August, clean up the seed heads, tidy everything up, and they accidentally shut the plant down right before its second bloom wave was about to begin. Coneflower, when left alone in late summer, will push out a second and sometimes a third round of flowers before the first frost. And those seed heads you were so eager to cut off? Goldfinches and chickadees feed on them all winter long. You get color in summer and a bird feeder in winter. From the same plant? For free. The numbers. Bloom period June through October, 5 solid months. USDA zones 3 through 9. Light full sun. Water drought tolerant once established. Soil thrives in poor, dry soil. The details nobody tells you. Works in Minnesota, Texas, Georgia, and Oregon. You do not need to water it constantly. You do not need to fertilize it. You do not need to baby it. That is exactly why it earns the first spot on this list. Plant in groups of 3 or 5 for maximum visual impact. And here is the detail that most garden centers will never tell you. The variety matters. Look for Echinacea purpurea specifically, not the fancy double-flowered hybrids that look impressive in the pot and disappoint you in the ground. The straight species and classic varieties like Magnus and Prairie Splendor are the ones that come back strongest year after year and bloom the longest. Plant DU2, Catmint, Nepeta ex Faceni. If you have ever spent money on annuals to fill your garden borders and watch them die in the summer heat, Catmint is the plant that should have been there instead. This is one of the most underused perennials in American gardens. And it is a genuine mystery why more people are not growing it, the secret move that changes everything. Catmint blooms from May through September. 4 months. But here is what separates good gardeners from great ones. When that first big flush of lavender blue flowers starts to fade in late June, cut the entire plant back by half, not all the way to the ground. Just by half. Within 2 to 3 weeks it explodes back into bloom like it was never touched. Most gardeners see that first fade and think the show is over. It is not over. You just have to know what to do. The numbers. Bloom period, May through September, 4 months. USDA zones, 3 through 8. Deer resistant, yes. Rabbit resistant, yes. Pollinator magnet, absolutely. Placement tips: plant it along pathways, fence lines, or at the front of your borders where it can spill forward slightly. It softens hard edges. It smells incredible when you brush past it. Walker's Low is the variety most gardeners find performs best. Widely available, reliable, and it comes back full and strong every single spring. Engagement break, comment prompt. I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly in the comments below. How many months out of the year is your garden actually looking its best? 1 month? 2 months? Is it basically only May and June and then it just fades out? Because if that is your answer, you are in the right place, and this list is going to change how you think about your yard permanently. Drop your answer in the comments. Tell me what state or zone you are gardening in. I read every single one. Plant AB3, Black-Eyed Susan, Rudbeckia fulgida. Here is something the garden center is not telling you. There are 2 completely different plants being sold under the Black-Eyed Susan name. Rudbeckia hirta, annual or short-lived biennial, blooms beautifully, then dies. Rudbeckia fulgida, true perennial. Comes back every single year, spreads slowly into a reliable colony, and blooms from July all the way through hard frost. That means it is still standing and still bright yellow when everything else in your garden has already called it quits for the season. The numbers. Bloom period July through hard frost. USDA zones 3 through 9. Soil tolerance, clay soil, partial shade. Best variety, Gold Sturm uniform, compact, longest blooming. The label trick. When you go to your garden center, do not just grab the plant with the prettiest tag. Flip it over. Read the botanical name. If it says fulgida, you are holding a perennial that will still be in your garden 15 years from now. Share prompt. If this list is already giving you ideas for this season, do me a quick favor. Share this video with one gardening friend who complains every August that their yard looks dead. You might just change their entire gardening life. And if you have not subscribed yet, now is the time. We have 8 more plants to get through, and every single one of them gets better from here. Plant W4. Salvia. Salvia nemorosa. Most people hear the word salvia and they think of the herb sitting on their kitchen windowsill. That is a completely different plant. Salvia nemorosa is a flowering perennial that blooms longer, works harder, and delivers more consistent color than almost anything else you can put in a sunny border. And the fact that most American gardeners are still sleeping on it is honestly shocking. The cutback secret. Deep violet-purple spikes shoot straight up from May through September. Hummingbirds find it, butterflies find it, bees are on it from the moment the first spike opens. When that first flush starts to fade, you do exactly what you did with the catmint. Shear it back, cut the spent spikes down to the base foliage. Give it 2 weeks, it pushes a second flush, and in cooler zones, sometimes even a third. Most gardeners deadhead one spike at a time and wonder why they never get a strong rebloom. Shear the whole plant. That is the difference, the numbers. Bloom period, May through September. USDA zones, 4 through 9. Light, full sun, water, drought-tolerant once established. Best varieties, Caradonna, May night, the power combination. Planted behind Catmint, in front of Coneflower. You now have a combination that blooms from May straight through October with almost zero intervention from you. Subscribe push. Every tip on this list, the variety names, the cutback timing, the zone specifics, this is the kind of information that takes years of trial and error to figure out on your own. Years of planting the wrong thing, buying the wrong variety, cutting back at the wrong time, and losing a whole season of bloom. You do not have to do that. Hit the subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Let this channel do that research for you. It costs you nothing and it saves you years. Plant WE5, Daylily, Hemerocallis species, reblooming varieties. Before you skip past this one because you already grow daylilies, stay with me. There is a very good chance you are growing the wrong kind and getting 4 weeks of bloom when you could be getting 4 months. The problem nobody talks about. The word daylily covers thousands of varieties, and the bloom duration between those varieties is not even close to the same. Standard daylilies bloom once for 3 to 4 weeks. Done. Reblooming daylilies bloom in early summer, take a short break, then come back again in late summer and fall. Some bloom almost continuously from May straight through to frost, and most garden centers display them all in the same section with almost no distinction between them. The variety's worth your money. Stella d'Oro, most reliably reblooming daylily available, tested for decades. Happy Returns, soft yellow, continuous performer. Rosy Returns, pink tones, excellent rebloom. The numbers. Bloom period, May through frost, reblooming varieties. USDA zones, 3 through 9. Soil, tolerates poor soil. Water, drought tolerant once established. The free plant trick. Daylilies spread slowly into larger clumps you can divide every 4 to 5 years and turn into more free plants. Give a division to your neighbor, fill a new bed, trade with a friend, one plant becomes 10 over time, and it costs you nothing but a little time with a shovel. Plant Aba 6, blanket flower, Gaillardia x grandiflora. If your yard runs hot and dry in summer and you feel like nothing survives it, this is the plant that was specifically built for your conditions, why most gardeners grow it wrong. Blanket flower blooms better in poor soil than it does in rich soil. If you amend your bed heavily, fertilize regularly, and water it like most perennials, it will give you big, lush foliage and disappointing flowers. Pull back the water, skip the fertilizer, plant it in that sandy, rocky, gravelly spot where nothing else wants to grow. That is where blanket flower becomes absolutely spectacular. The numbers. Bloom period, June through October. USDA zones, 3 through 10, widest zone range on this list. Conditions, heat, drought, poor soil. Best varieties, Goblin, Arizona sun. Works in South Florida, coastal California, the high plains of Colorado, and the upper Midwest. Maintenance notes. Deadhead regularly through the season to keep the bloom cycle going. Divide every 2 to 3 years. Blanket flower tends to die out in the center as it ages. Split it, replant the healthy outer sections, and it resets completely. Engagement break. Comment prompt. What is the absolute hardest condition you are dealing with in your garden right now? Heat, drought, deer, bad soil, shade? Drop it in the comments with your zone or your state because the #1 question I get is, what will actually grow in my specific situation? Tell me yours and I will tell you which plants on this list are your best answer. I read every comment and I respond to as many as I possibly can. Plant AU7, Shasta Daisy, Leucanthemum X superbum. There is a reason Shasta daisies have been in American gardens for over 100 years. They are reliable, they are classic, they look equally beautiful in a formal border and in a loose cottage garden, and when you handle them correctly, they bloom from June through September. Nearly 4 months of those crisp white and yellow flowers that go with absolutely everything else in the garden. The deadheading mistake. Most gardeners treat deadheading as a casual task. You cannot just snap off the spent flower heads and call it done. When the main flush of bloom finishes in July, cut the stems back by about 1/3. Not all the way to the ground. Just by 1/3, this forces the plant to push side shoots, and those side shoots carry new buds. Within 3 to 4 weeks, you have a second wave of bloom that most gardeners never see because they either cut too hard or did not cut at all. The numbers. Bloom period, June through September. USDA zones 4 through 9. Light, full sun. Soil, well-drained. Best varieties, Becky hot climates, Alaska northern zones. The bonus you are missing, both varieties produce flowers that are large enough and sturdy enough to cut and bring inside. You get a garden display and free fresh-cut flowers for your kitchen table. All summer long, divide every 2 to 3 years in early spring to keep flower size large and plant vigor high. Share DA subscribe prompt. If someone you know has a garden that peaks in spring and dies by midsummer, send them this video right now. The information in this list is exactly what changes that pattern permanently. And if you are watching this and not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? This channel is built specifically for American gardeners who want a yard that works hard all season long. Subscribe now. You will not regret it. Plant I8, Coreopsis verticillata. If someone told you there was a perennial that blooms for nearly 6 months, survives drought, laughs at summer heat, requires almost zero maintenance, and comes back stronger every single year, you would probably assume they were exaggerating. They are not. Coreopsis verticillata, the threadleaf Coreopsis, is that plant. The numbers. Bloom period, May through October, nearly 6 months. USDA zones 3 through 9, light, full sun. Water, one of the most drought-tolerant on this list. Best varieties, Moonbeam, soft pale yellow, Zagreb, bold golden yellow. The one cut that makes all the difference. In midsummer, usually around late July, shear the whole plant back by half. It looks brutal when you do it. It looks like you made a terrible mistake. Give it 10 days. It will push back with an explosion of new growth and fresh bloom that carries all the way through October. Gardeners who skip this step get a plant that blooms beautifully in June and then slowly fades through August and September. Gardeners who do this step get 6 full months of color. That one cut is the entire difference. Plant IU9, Penstemon digitalis. This is the plant that serious gardeners already know about and everybody else has never heard of. And that gap in knowledge is costing a lot of American gardeners something they genuinely want in their yard. Hummingbirds. What this plant actually does. Penstemon digitalis is a native North American perennial. It produces tall, upright stems covered in tubular white to pale lavender flowers that hummingbirds find absolutely irresistible. If you have ever bought a hummingbird feeder, mixed the sugar water, hung it up, cleaned it every few days, and still felt like you were doing too much work for too little reward, plant penstemon instead. It feeds hummingbirds continuously from May through July and requires nothing from you but a place in the ground. The numbers. Bloom period, May through July. USDA zones 3 through 8. Light, full sun to light shade. Soil, dry, rocky conditions once established. Best variety, Husker Red, deep burgundy foliage all season. The winter rule. Do not cut penstemon back in the fall. Leave the stems standing all the way through winter. Those stems protect the crown from freeze damage in cold zones and provide structure in the garden when everything else has disappeared. Cut it back in late spring only when you see fresh new growth emerging at the base. That is your signal. That is when you know it is alive and ready. Native bees use it, hummingbirds use it, butterflies visit it. This is one of those plants that makes your garden feel alive in a way that purely ornamental plants simply cannot match. Final subscribe push before the close. If you have watched this far and you are not subscribed yet, I want you to think about something you found this video. You stayed through 9 plants worth of real, specific zone-by-zone, variety-by-variety gardening information. The next video on this channel is going to be just as detailed and just as useful. The subscribe button is literally just your way of making sure you do not miss it. One tap. That is all it takes. Do it now while you are thinking about it. Plant Lobutin, Aster, Symphia trichum species. Every gardener has a September problem. The summer perennials are winding down. The annuals are exhausted. The yard starts looking tired and thin and honestly, a little sad. Most American gardeners just accept that as the way things are. That fall is the end of the garden season and there is nothing to be done about it. Aster is the plant that proves that thinking completely wrong, what aster actually does. Symphia trichum species, the true perennial asters native to North America, bloom from August through hard frost. They come into their peak performance in September and October when almost everything else is already finished. Clouds of small daisy-like flowers in purple, blue, pink, and white. Plants reaching 2 to 4 feet tall depending on the variety, and at exactly the time of year when late-season pollinators preparing for winter need a food source most desperately, aster delivers it. The numbers. Bloom period, August through hard frost, peak September and October. USDA zones 3 through 8, light full sun to partial shade. Best varieties, Radon's favorite, Purple Dome. The pinching technique. Here is what separates gardeners who get beautiful, compact asters from gardeners who get tall, floppy, disappointing ones. Pinch the stem tips back in late May, pinch them again in late June. Each pinch creates branching. More branches means more flower buds. More flower buds means a plant so covered in bloom by September that you cannot see the stems underneath. Gardeners who skip the pinching get plants that fall open, lean sideways, and need staking. Gardeners who pinch get a naturally compact flowering mound that needs nothing. Final engagement prompt. Here is the question I want you to answer honestly in the comments right now. Is your fall garden as colorful and as alive as your spring garden? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, which plant from this list are you adding to change that? Drop it below. I want to see what gardeners all across the United States are planting. Your answers genuinely help other people watching this video find the right plant for their own yard. Plant I-11, balloon flower, Platycodon grandiflorus. Every list needs a closer that makes people stop and say, I have never seen that before. What is it? Where do I get it? This is that plant. What makes it extraordinary? Balloon flower gets its name from the buds. Before they open, they inflate into perfect little round balloons, tight, smooth, almost geometric. Then they pop open into wide star-shaped flowers in a shade of blue that is genuinely rare in the perennial world. True blue, not purple, not blue-purple, blue, in a garden full of pinks and yellows and whites. A plant that produces true blue flowers in June and keeps producing them through September becomes the plant that every single visitor to your yard asks about. The numbers. Bloom period, June through September. USDA zones 3 through 8. Light, full sun to partial shade. Soil, well-drained, average. Best varieties, Sentimental Blue Compact, Borders and Containers, Astra Blue Classic Upright. The mistake that kills it. Balloon flower rewards patience. It is slow to establish in its first year, and it emerges from the ground very late in spring. So late that gardeners routinely dig it up by accident, thinking it died over winter. Mark the spot before the foliage disappears in fall. A stake, a label, a ring of small stones. Anything that tells you, do not dig here. Because underneath that bare soil, a perfectly healthy plant is getting ready to give you one of the most unique flower shows in your entire garden. Deadhead spent flowers regularly, and it will bloom from June through September, cut to the ground in late fall after frost. It comes back every year without fail, and gets slightly better and fuller with each passing season as the root system matures. This is the plant that makes your garden feel like it has a secret, and now you know what it is.